Hey, Nora, my name is James Masella from Movie Death Blows. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with me today.
It's nice to meet you. Thanks for sitting down with me.
So let's start off. What made you interested in playing the character of Detective Young in the Boneyard?
Well, I've never played a character like her, and I just think that she was an interesting, complicated, smart woman, who's very invested in trying to solve these crimes. And yeah,
I
sorry,
know
you're about
you're.
to ask something.
No, I was gonna say, like, I know you're from Texas originally, and like
Uh,
this movie takes place in like New Mexico. Like, they're not exactly that close, but did you ever hear anything about like the West Mesa murders when you were younger, growing up in that area or
I
anything like
I
that?
did actually because I grew up in El Paso as well, and we used to go to Albuquerque a lot. So I was aware of these murders. I mean, they're very disturbing. So yeah.
Did you do any research prior to taking this role, like a deep dive that you hadn't been aware of stuff previous to that? Like, I know you probably heard of it, but did you ever like take it like a really deep dive into it at all?
I definitely did a deeper dive than I had previously done. And I definitely I spoke to like a female detective, not on that case, but just about what it was like to be a detective and how that process works. But she's learning things with the audience. So I didn't want to have, you know what I mean? Have her
Yeah,
be ahead of
yeah,
that. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You've got, co-starring with you in this movie, you've got Mel Gibson, you've got Curtis Jackson, you've got Brian Van Holt. The first time we see Mel's character, Agent Petrovick, is like he gets off a plane in this Hawaiian shirt. Were you expecting to see him get off the plane like that? You're like, oh, it's Mel Gibson in a big Jimmy Buffett type shirt here going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a strong character choice. That day was so insanely windy. It was this crazy windstorm. So there was like sand whipping around. I mean, I think that big bag that he was carrying got completely blown away. He almost got knocked over just trying to disembark. It was a wild first day. That was the first day of shooting. So yeah.
I was watching it and I know that Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent plays Chief Carter, but I was like, oh, 50 Cent is the chief of police in this movie. I wasn't expecting anything like that. What was it like working with him and getting to see him play like a character in a position of power, like overseeing your whole investigation?
Well, I mean, it was wonderful working with him. He was so sweet and kind um and I do think that he has this quiet authority or like power. Like he wore it well, and I think that it lent itself well to him being the chief.
I just couldn't visualize that. I was like, oh, all right, he's the chief of police. All right, I got you. I'm with you now. Your co-star detective or Brian Van Holt plays Detective Ortega. He's your partner. He's been one of my favorite actors in a while, from Confidence to Basic. Even when he showed up on Sons of Anarchy for like 5 seconds. What was that dynamic between you guys working together?
It was great. I mean, he's great. We get along really, really well, and so it was really nice to since obviously he was the person that I worked with the most, and he plays my partner in the movie. Um, it was great to get to spend time together off camera to kind of build that relationship and also just to have fun, frankly. We had fun.
Did you guys shoot on location in New Mexico or was it somewhere else?
No, we shot outside of Vegas.
How long was the shoot for you guys? Usually people shoot in New Mexico, so I figured you guys would shoot there, but no, Vegas is fine too.
Yeah, I think it was originally going to shoot in New Mexico, and I'm not sure what happened, but what was the question? Sorry.
I honestly don't remember what I asked.
You asked how long we
I've
shot, or did you
I've been
something?
sick all week, so I am barely remembering half the things I've said already.
Oh
So
no, I'm so sorry.
don't worry about it. So I think I read before you're starring in another movie with Mel Gibson in it as well, Boys of Summer or something like that. Is that something I read?
It's now retitled Monster Summer. I think they're announcing it next week. It's coming out in October. But we did not work together on that one. We were there at separate times and have, yeah,
Same movie, not there at the same time. I'm with you.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
when I saw this email come through, I was like, I wanted to talk to Nora for so long because I was such a huge
Oh,
fan of Brick growing up when I was younger. And like I ran a Blockbuster. That's the first time I ever pulled it off the shelf. I was like, what is this movie? This DVD case here. I'll rent it. I'll take it home. and I have sat with the director Ryan Johnson. I got to ask him about it, but I'm just curious. We're almost 20 years removed from that. Any
I
stories?
know.
Anything you remember? I had much more hair when that movie came out. I can tell you that. But any stories you can tell from the set that were fun?
I just had so much fun making that movie. It was just, it felt like camp, like we were all staying in this motel in San Clemente, which is where Ryan actually went to school, like we shot at his actual high school. And I just remember like having fun. Everybody would play guitar afterwards. I remember I bought a guitar in the middle of shooting because I wanted my own guitar, not that I knew how to play it. And then I later broke Ryan's guitar when he was helping me make a self-tape and I was sick, and he had it sitting in the middle of the living room, like standing up straight. Like, who does that? And I ran into it and knocked it against the wall and it broke in half. Very rock and roll. And so I wound up having to give him my guitar at the time, which ended my guitar playing in my early 20s.
He's the nicest man in the world. I'm forever grateful for him to sit down with me and talk about Knives Out and Glass Onion and stuff like that. That was such a big deal for me. So I had to ask you about, what it was like with
Yeah,
him
yeah,
and
yeah. No,
everything like
he's
that.
the loveliest. Yeah.
So I mean, you were in two movies. You were in Brick and what, The Brothers Bloom, I think, or something like that.
Mhm.
Why don't we
Yeah.
see you in Knives Out or anything like that showing up in any of this stuff? I mean, Joseph still gets to show up in
Ask
everything somehow.
him. I mean,
Um,
no, we're still friends. I don't know why I haven't been in.
Next time I see him, I'm be like, well, what's going on here? Joseph gets to be the Daily Dong, and his voice gets to be in all this stuff. I don't know her.
Yeah. And
But
Noah's a bunch of them too. Noah Segan.
one other thing I wanted to ask you is, you were on the first two seasons of Everwood back in the day. My wife loved that show. I think her mom likes that show too. But Treat Williams growing up was always one of my favorite. I know we lost him last year in that accident. Any stories, anything you can tell just about working on that show with him and everyone that was on there?
It was kind of my first real series. I mean, it was my first series. I had done pilots that didn't go. And so, yeah, it was great. Everybody on it was so lovely, and Treat was so lovely. I was so, sorry to hear about his passing. We're in Utah. I don't know what to tell you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I was I just remember all those WB shows from back in the day, and when I was reading up, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, she was in the first two seasons of
Yeah, it was the
Everwood back in
WB.
the
I
day.
thought it was, I mean, I really loved that show. I thought it was really well written, and I liked my character, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I actually think kind of left it to do Brick, and that was what happened.
I guess it was the right choice. It was a good choice in my opinion because I love that movie.
Yeah, I got to do both, so that's right.
So this was like one of your first times actually getting to play like a detective, like a cop, Detective Young.
Yeah,
Would you come back and do it again, or was it like too dark with just like the way these murders went and everything like that?
it is really dark. Yeah, of course, I would definitely do it again. Yeah. Did I do a compelling job? Should I do it again?
I
Or
think
I haven't seen it.
for you haven't seen it yet.
I
I've
think
watched.
myself. So I have like I have a really hard time with it.
Trust me, I understand because I can't believe I get to do these and like watching myself. My wife will tell you it's very uncomfortable. I only listen to the audio because I don't like to see myself
But there's
like
like three
block
of you.
that.
You have two of you behind you. Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
He overlooks my shoulder just to make sure I'm not messing up or anything like that. But Nora, that's all I have for you today. I really appreciate you sitting down with me and talking about this stuff, and I can't wait for everybody to see the Boneyard when it's available for them to see in a couple of weeks.
All right. Thanks so much for chatting with me.
No problem.